5:47 a.m. Washington, D.C., a small apartment 3 blocks from the Pentagon. Defense analyst Jordan Mitchell sits at his desk surrounded by 3 monitors, 2 empty coffee cups, and a notepad covered in handwritten coordinates. He has been awake for 19 hours. His eyes are red. His hands are moving fast across the keyboard, because what he is looking at right now on his screen is something that should not be publicly visible, something that the United States Navy did not intend for civilian analysts to piece together. But the data is there, clear, undeniable, and deeply alarming. He picks up his phone and calls his editor. "You need to see this. Every major U.S. Navy asset in the 5th Fleet Area of Operations has moved in the last 72 hours. Carriers, destroyers, submarines, all of them repositioned simultaneously. This is not a routine rotation. This is a deliberate surge. Something is happening near Iran, and it is happening right now." The fleet tracker websites that defense analysts use aggregate publicly available data. Automatic identification system signals from vessels, satellite imagery from commercial providers, flight tracking data from maritime patrol aircraft. Individually, each piece of information is incomplete. But when you layer them together and you know what you are looking for, a picture emerges. And the picture Mitchell is looking at shows the largest concentration of American naval power in the Persian Gulf region in over a decade. 2 carrier strike groups, 17 surface combatants, an unknown number of submarines operating below the surface, and a steady stream of P-8 Poseidon maritime patrol aircraft flying patterns over the Strait of Hormuz that have tripled in frequency over the past 4 days. The United States Navy is assembling something massive near Iran, and nobody in Washington is saying why. The movement began 6 days ago, not with a single dramatic order but with a series of quiet adjustments. The USS Dwight D. Eisenhower, operating in the Red Sea, received orders to transit the Bab el-Mandeb Strait and move northeast. The USS Theodore Roosevelt, conducting exercises in the North Arabian Sea, was redirected west toward the Gulf of Oman. Individual destroyer and cruiser movements that seemed routine when examined separately began revealing a clear pattern when mapped against each other. Someone was assembling a fleet. Quietly, deliberately, with obvious purpose. Inside the Pentagon's Joint Operations Center, the movements were anything but quiet. They were the result of a decision made at the highest levels of the American national security establishment, following a series of intelligence reports that had been escalating in severity for 3 weeks. Iranian ballistic missile forces had been observed moving to forward positions. IRGC naval units had increased patrol activity in the lower Gulf. Satellite imagery showed unusual activity at 3 Iranian air bases, within strike range of American naval assets and Allied installations in the region. The intelligence community assessment was delivered to the National Security Council in a classified briefing that lasted 2 hours and 40 minutes. The conclusion was direct. Iran was preparing for a significant military action. The timeline was assessed at between 7 and 21 days. The nature of the action remained unclear, but the scale of the preparation was unlike anything seen since 2019. The decision to surge naval forces into the region was made before the briefing was over. Admiral Raymond Torres, commander of U.S. Naval Forces Central Command, receives his execute order at 11:15 p.m. on a Tuesday. He reads it in his office at Naval Support Activity Bahrain and immediately calls his operations staff. "We are going to maximum presence posture in the 5th Fleet AOR. I want both carrier strike groups in position within 96 hours. Coordinate with Submarine Group 7 for forward deployment of attack boats, and get me an updated threat picture every 6 hours." The staff begins moving. The fleet begins moving. And within 48 hours, commercial satellite imagery that was supposed to show routine Gulf shipping begins showing something very different. Defense analysts like Jordan Mitchell started noticing, then journalists, then foreign intelligence services, then the Iranian government itself. The deployment is no longer a secret, but its purpose remains one: By the time the sun rises over the Persian Gulf on the 6th day of repositioning, the tactical picture is extraordinary. The USS Theodore Roosevelt and her strike group hold position in the northern Arabian Sea, close enough to project power into the Gulf, but far enough to operate with freedom of maneuver. The USS Dwight D. Eisenhower and her strike group are inside the Gulf of Oman, positioned at the eastern entrance to the Strait of Hormuz. Between them and the Iranian coastline, a screen of Arleigh Burke destroyers and Ticonderoga cruisers forms the most capable surface warfare force assembled in this region since Operation Iraqi Freedom. And beneath the surface, running silent and invisible, American attack submarines are already in position. Iran sees all of it, and Iran begins to move. Inside the Iranian Supreme National Security Council chamber in Tehran, the mood is tense but controlled. Senior military commanders stand before a map of the Persian Gulf region and brief the assembled leadership on what their own intelligence assets have confirmed. 2 American carrier strike groups, 17 surface warships, submarine signatures detected by Iranian passive sonar arrays in the Strait of Hormuz, American maritime patrol aircraft flying continuous coverage over Iranian territorial waters boundaries. The briefing officer pauses before his final point. They are not preparing to leave. They are preparing to stay. This is a siege posture. The room absorbs this in silence. Iran has faced American naval pressure before. In 1988, Operation Praying Mantis destroyed a significant portion of the Iranian Navy in a single day. The memory of that engagement lives in the institutional consciousness of every Iranian military commander in this room. They know what American naval power looks like when it is fully committed, and what they are seeing outside their coastline right now is fully committed American naval power. The Supreme Leader's military advisor speaks carefully. We have options. We do not have good options, but we have options. Iran's naval doctrine in the event of American military pressure relies on 3 core elements: asymmetric swarm tactics using IRGC fast attack craft, ballistic and cruise missile strikes against surface vessels from hardened coastal positions, and the mining of the Strait of Hormuz to deny freedom of navigation to both American forces and international shipping. All 3 elements have been prepared. All 3 are ready. But using them against this fleet is a different calculation than using them against a single destroyer or a small patrol group. 2 carrier strike groups means 2 complete air wings, over 150 combat aircraft. Each carrier carries enough ordnance to conduct sustained strike operations for weeks without resupply. The destroyers surrounding them carry hundreds of Tomahawk cruise missiles with coordinates already loaded for targets across Iran. The submarines beneath the surface carry torpedoes and cruise missiles and can strike from positions Iran cannot locate or defend against. The Iranian military knows how this ends if it escalates to open warfare. They have run the simulations. They have read the assessments. The outcome is not favorable. But doing nothing is also not an option. Not politically, not strategically, not in front of a domestic audience that has been told for decades that Iran will never yield to American pressure. The decision made in Tehran is characteristically Iranian, neither full escalation nor full retreat, calibrated provocation, enough to demonstrate resolve, not enough to justify the response that would end badly. IRGC naval forces are ordered to increase patrol activity to maximum intensity. Iranian fast boats begin appearing alongside American vessels in numbers not seen in years. Radio challenges are issued constantly. Formation crossings, close approaches. Every tool in the harassment playbook activated simultaneously. The goal is to generate incidents, to create pressure, to make the American presence in these waters as uncomfortable and politically costly as possible without firing a single weapon. Simultaneously, Iranian state media begins broadcasting footage of missile units at their positions. The message is deliberate. We see you. We are ready. Do not mistake our restraint for weakness. Admiral Torres watches all of it from his operations center in Bahrain. He has seen this Iranian playbook before. He knows what it is designed to do. And he makes a command decision that reflects years of experience operating in this region. We do not take the bait, we maintain position, we maintain posture, we respond to every provocation by the book, and we do not escalate. Their job is to make us react emotionally. Our job is to make them realize that is not going to work. His fleet holds its position. Destroyers maintain course and speed when Iranian fast boats approach. Radio challenges are answered professionally and without aggression. The maritime patrol aircraft continue their patterns without deviation. The submarines stay silent and deep and invisible. The standoff enters its second week. On the 9th day of the deployment, something unexpected happens. A U.S. Navy EP-3 Ares signals intelligence aircraft operating over the Gulf detects a significant increase in encrypted communications traffic between Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps headquarters in Tehran and IRGC naval units in the lower Gulf. The volume and frequency of the traffic suggests something is being coordinated, something operational. The signals intelligence team aboard the aircraft begins working to characterize the traffic pattern. What they find triggers an immediate report to Admiral Torres. The communications pattern matches a profile in the classified threat library. It is consistent with pre-operational coordination for a large-scale mine-laying operation. The same pattern was detected 3 years earlier during an Iranian exercise. The exercise had been designed to simulate closing the Strait of Hormuz, and this is not an exercise. Torres picks up his secure phone and calls the Joint Chiefs. I assess Iran is preparing to mine the strait within the next 48 to 72 hours. I need authority to preempt. The response comes back in 37 minutes. Authority granted. The preemption operation begins at 2 a.m. on the 10th day of the deployment. It does not begin with missiles or aircraft. It begins with submarines. 2 Los Angeles-class attack submarines that have been holding silent positions in the lower Gulf for 8 days receive their execute orders simultaneously. Their targets are not ships or missile batteries. Their targets are the IRGC naval vessels that the Signals Intelligence Assessment identified as the mine-laying platforms. 4 modified landing craft and 2 patrol vessels that have been observed loading cylindrical objects at the Bandar Abbas naval facility over the past 36 hours. The submarines do not fire weapons. Not yet. They move to intercept positions and they surface briefly. Just long enough to be detected by Iranian coastal radar. Just long enough to make their presence known to the commanders watching those radar screens in the IRGC Naval Command Center. The message is precise and unmistakable. We know what you are loading. We know where those vessels are going. We are already there. The mine-laying vessels do not leave port that night, but Torres knows this is a delay, not a solution. Iran has not abandoned the plan. They have paused it. They are recalculating. And a recalculating Iran in possession of naval mines and coastal missile batteries and a domestic political situation that demands visible resistance to American pressure is an Iran that will eventually act. The next move comes from the air. At 4:30 a.m. 12 FA-18, Super Hornets launch from the USS Theodore Roosevelt. They fly north in 2 6-aircraft formations, climbing to altitude over the Gulf of Oman before turning west toward the strait. They are not carrying strike ordnance. They are carrying surveillance pods and electronic warfare systems. Their mission is not to attack. Their mission is to be seen, to fly along the Iranian coastline in full view of Iranian radar systems, to demonstrate that the carriers can put aircraft over Iranian territory whenever the decision is made to do so. Iranian air defense systems track them carefully. SAM batteries illuminate the formations with targeting radar. The EA-18G growlers accompanying the strike package immediately detect the radar emissions and begin jamming. The illumination ceases. The F/A-18S complete their patrol route and turn back south toward the carrier. No shots fired, maximum message delivered. By the 12th day of the deployment, the combination of submarine presence, surface warship positioning, and air demonstrations has created a comprehensive pressure environment around Iran's Gulf military infrastructure. Every Iranian naval commander knows that every vessel they move is being tracked. Every missile battery they activate is being observed. Every communication they transmit is being collected and analyzed. The fleet tracker data that Jordan Mitchell published in his analysis 12 days ago has by now been picked up by every major international news outlet. The images of 2 carrier strike groups positioned at the entrance to the Strait of Hormuz have appeared on front pages across the world. The political and diplomatic dimensions of the deployment have taken on a life of their own. 3 European governments have reached out to Tehran through back channels urging de-escalation. China has issued a statement calling for restraint from all parties. Russia has called the American deployment destabilizing. None of it changes the military reality on the water. On the 14th day, Iran blinks, not completely, not publicly, not in a way that allows any Iranian official to stand before a camera and say the word retreat. But the IRGC fast boat harassment operations are quietly scaled back. The mine-laying vessels at Bandar Abbas are moved to a different pier, away from their loaded cargo. The volume of encrypted military communications drops sharply. 3 Iranian ballistic missile batteries that had been observed in forward positions are tracked returning to their garrison locations. The provocation dial is being turned down. Carefully, quietly, without announcement. Admiral Torres receives the intelligence summary on the morning of the 14th day and reads through it in his office. He does not smile. He does not celebrate. He sets the report down and looks at the tactical display on his wall showing the current positions of every vessel under his command. Then he picks up his pen and begins drafting the order for a gradual, deliberate, carefully managed reduction in fleet posture. Not a withdrawal, a repositioning. The carriers will remain in the region. The submarines will remain forward deployed. But the most visible and provocative elements of the surge posture will be walked back in a way that gives Iran a quiet path toward de-escalation without requiring anyone to publicly admit anything. This is how naval standoffs in the modern Gulf end, not with explosions, not with declarations of victory, with a careful, mutual, unacknowledged stepping back from the edge. Somewhere on a commercial satellite imagery website, the next morning's images show the USS Theodore Roosevelt, 100 nautical miles further from the Iranian coastline than she was the day before. Jordan Mitchell stares at his screen and updates his analysis. The fleet is moving again, but this time it is moving away, for now. The Persian Gulf does not have permanent victors, only temporary ones, and the fleet trackers keep running.